We received our NordicTrack T-Series. The machine takes up the whole box, and then we have the rails and some other parts on top. These two boxes are underneath the treadmill when you unpack. It's the top console and then some additional hardware. We have everything laid out. There's our treadmill, all of our parts, and everything's labeled pretty good. These two combos came in separate bags, so you want to keep the pieces together, right and left. There's our console with the LCD panel, and here's a bag with our instructions. I'm sure the registration card's in there, and it says it has a 1-year iFit coach membership. Here's the contents of the plastic pouch, and there is all your hardware. We have everything unboxed and unencumbered, so now we're going to start with step 2. We're wrapping that skinny wire around the electrical connection wire. Go to the other end of the arm and pull the skinny lead wire through so you can pull the white connector through. At the bottom of the arm, push the rubber grommet through the square hole. Make sure that you don't pinch the ground wire. Remove and discard the screw that's there as a placeholder. Remove this screw from your hardware kit. Tighten down the grounding wire with that new screw. For step 4, both sides, we're going to use 2 of these, 1 of these, and 1 of these. Put a step 4 washer on both bolts. The longer one's going to go on the front, shorter one's going to go on the back. And we're leaving everything just hand tight right now until everything's assembled. Screw that in. There's a threaded hole down there, and then we're going to tighten it with a crescent wrench. The bolt for the back goes in on the other side, and that is a tight fit. We get it started by hand, and we'll use a crescent wrench. For the back one, get it started with your fingers and just wiggle the bar up and down. Take the pressure off of the bolt, and then you can screw it in. When assembling this side, make sure your wires aren't pinched. We're going to put the boots on, and it's a little tight getting it started, and just slide it down. Do not slide it all the way down yet. Just leave it right there. For the right one, we fed the cable through. Now we're doing the exact same thing, just sliding it down. Step 6 is the handrails. First, they want you to take out these 4 screws that came with it and discard them. For step 6, the handrails, we're going to use all 4 of these star washers, 2 on each side, and these long bolts, 2 on each side. Make sure the wire's out of the way. And tighten the bolts with the Allen wrench. And there's our handrail. We went ahead and tightened the bolts real well, and our cable's coming out to the inside nice and loose. We're doing the exact same thing to the left side. Put the console face down, and there's 2 screws. It's the second one on the left and the second one in on the right, and just discard them. After you remove the 2 screws, lift off the back of the pulse crossbar. To attach the console, we're going to use these washers and these screws in step 8 here on the blister pack. We're going to place the pulse crossbar on. Line up your pulse crossbar like that. Look down, make sure the holes line up. We have both sides on now. Assemble your 4 screws with a washer on each. Screw them down tight. So they're in. Do not over tighten these as they're self-tapping screws, so you don't want them to strip. This is our upside down console. This is the ground wire. So we're going to flip the console over and put it on top of the treadmill. This little ground wire is going to go to this little connector on the pulse crossbar. Now this is the data cable. We're going to connect this data cable and see it's keyed. We're going to connect that to the cable coming out of the upright bar. And we still have the wire tie coming out of it in case it drops back down. We're going to place the console on the running machine, and we're going to use these 4 little screws, step 10 screws, to connect it. Our console screws are just going to come up through here and screw into the back of the console. 1, 2 on this side and 2 on the other side. So we have the console in place. I'm at the back of the running machine. We've connected our ground wire in the middle, and we've connected our data cable. When you lift the console and put it in place, make sure you don't crimp the ground cable. We put the console in place, make sure this rounded part slides down here, make sure no cables are pinched, and use the Allen wrench to tighten them. Our 6 screws in step 11 are going to go under the pulse crossbar, and then these 4 screws in step 11 are going to attach the trays. We're screwing in the 6 screws underneath the pulse crossbar, and you want them tight but not super tight. You don't want to damage the electronics in the bar. Now we're going to go back and take the long end of the Allen wrench, and we're going to tighten these down real good. So here's the 4 screws for our trays. The screws go up from the bottom here and down here. There's our cup holder on the right side. Now we're going to do the exact same thing on the left. Okay, for step 12, attaching the crossbar to the bottom of the treadmill, we're going to use these 2 star washers. So put the center bar in, and that piece in the middle angles down. So we remove the bolts, put on the washer, and now we're screwing them back in. Now we're going to remove the bolt from the top latch and the bottom latch. So we remove the bolt at the bottom and we put the piston in there and put the bolt back. We did the same at the top. The top had this little spacer in there, it was inside. So leave that in place and have your bolt shove it out through the hole. Don't remove this by hand. Now don't over tighten the bolts for the pneumatic rod because it needs to be able to move, so you don't want to squish right onto this bar. This is a close-up of the center. You see how there's a thick part and a thin part? When you lift up slightly to take the weight off and you push this bar back, it clears that little ledge and then it goes down very slowly for you. And then when you go back up, it snaps back in place. Okay. Now go back and tighten all the screws at the base, 4 on each side. Now we're going to put on our dust covers, put it under the cable, and now we're going to slide the center piece down. Now I'm on the other side. I just want to point out, note there's holes here and there's little teeth up here. So this has to be over far enough and then slide down. Those teeth have to fit into those holes. And our last piece is the console key. One side clips to your clothes and this side has a magnet. It just goes right there. It has to be attached before the belt will start. And if you pull it off, the belt will slow to a stop. We're going to lower it. Take the weight off just a little bit, lift it up. Use your foot to push that in, and it lowers all by itself very slowly. So that's an excellent feature. To put it up, you lift it, and that piece I showed you earlier in the middle will click in place, and you can let go. There are 4 orange cushions, 2 on each side. And see, when the fat side is showing, it's on. When you turn it, that is off. When it's on, you'll have more cushion in your run. So our machine's assembled. Follow the link in the playlist at the end of this video to see how to operate it and how to use the iFit programs. I hope this is helpful. Thank you.